Okay, this is a demo showing how you pull voters based on non-standard election dates, so municipal elections or special elections. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is create a group to store the results set in, because it can get cumbersome creating these queries. So we're going to save the output just so it makes it easier to keep pulling these lists in the future. So you can see I've got a group down here called voter targets. I'm going to add a subgroup to store the result of our municipal district voters. So I'm going to add a new group. Let's just call it municipal voters, and we'll make it a subgroup of our voter targets. Okay, now we're going to actually go run the query. So to do that, we go to query targeting, and to be able to put in non-standard dates, we change this drop down to events, and then you can see now for each party we have this little calendar date or calendar icon. So just click that for whichever party you want to target. For municipal elections, though, you'll probably want to go after all three of them. And now we can add a list, a comma delimited list of the election dates we want to consider. And so you will need to go look up these election dates to make sure you have them correct. And so, say for our purposes here, we're going to look at the past two Tampa municipal elections. And I'm going to copy and paste this into the other two parties since we want to pursue them as well. Whoops, forgot I'm on a Mac here. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do, this might not be the query we want to run, but for the purpose of checking to make sure that the FERS voter data, which is what webElect is based on, we want to make sure that it actually has the vote history for these two elections. So to do that, I'm first going to run this as all, meaning that I want to find the voters that voted in both of those elections. If you were using more than two elections, you would still want to say all, and that's just going to verify that there actually are voters that have history for every one of those dates. And I'm just going to restrict it to a few precincts, enough precincts that I think I'll actually get a result here, because it just makes the query run a little bit quicker. So I can see that there are voters that have election history for both those dates. So now I can be confident that the FERS data has the election history for all the dates I want to consider. If you saw that that said 0 there, which I could demonstrate here if I added a date that did not have an election. And I'll just do it for, actually I'll just copy it down again. So now I can see, you know, since no voters come back, I know that one of those election dates doesn't have history. And so you'll want to do the same thing for the election dates you want to consider, just to make sure that all that data is in the system. So let me back this out and go back to the dates that we actually did want to consider. And let's say we just want the voters that voted in at least one of those. So at least, or one or two of those. So that'll be any one plus. And I can just deselect that to where we go after the whole entire district. And you could set any other parameters here as well. So now when I click next page, you can see we've got 20,000 voters currently registered that voted in at least one of the past municipal elections. And at this point I could kick out anybody if I wanted to based on my other groups, or just go to the output page. Now if I'm confident that those are the voters for sure I want to target, and I'm going to always want to use in my various reports I'm going to be pulling, I can just save this output to a group. So I can go select that group I created earlier called Municipal Voter. I can do add to group and run the report. Now the report does take longer to run than the standard election dates because there's not a good way to index this information. So it does have to, it does take a while longer to run, and that's another reason why it's good to save the data to a group, because then in the future it's a lot easier to recall it. Okay, I paused the recording. It took about probably a minute and a half to fully run there, but this is the results you get after it's finished adding to the group. So I'll just say OK there, and now it puts me back to the output page. So at this point, if I go over into group management and scroll down to our groups, I can see that now I've saved those 20,000 voters that match that municipal voter or municipal election dates. So in the future, if I want to pull any reports based on that, maybe I want to go run some walk lists for different precincts, I can go back into query targeting. I can select the precincts that I want to run a report for, and I can skip selecting this information here, because on the next page is where I'm going to now say keep only if member of our municipal voter target group. And it's going to only keep the members that are in that 101 precinct 101. So we can see it's going to filter down now to 471 voters, and now I can pull any report that I want to for those voters. So that's just a quicker way to work with the municipal election data, so you don't have to wait for it to run that long query every time for these reports. Now you do need to keep in mind that every month when the voter data is updated, you will want to rerun that query and restore the data in the group, because newly registered voters will need to be added to the group. I think that's it.